Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Opinions expressed on the First Coast Connect Week in Review are those of our panelists and do not reflect the views of WJXT News 89.9.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and it's Friday, which means it's time for our First Coast Week in Review here at First Coast Connect. Among our topics, a chaotic confrontation becomes the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office 10th fatal police shooting this year, the most since 2008. The mayor pushes back on a proposed tax cut by taking her budget to the streets in a series of town hall meetings. Cities react and residents protest as rainbow crosswalks across the state are obliterated, including outside the Pulse nightclub. A judge orders Alligator Alcatraz emptied, finding its construction likely violated federal environmental laws. And Florida's home to the filthiest lake in America. What's going on with Lake Okeechobee? To talk about all that and more, I am joined by Frank Powers, former assignment manager at WJXT News4Jax. Hi, Frank.
Football is back.
Football is back. And so is the chocolate. Once
Yes.
again, a delicious
this one,
candy bar from
Immersed
Frank
with
Powers.
coffee.
Chocolate and coffee, you cannot go wrong.
Excellent combo.
We're also joined by Emily Turner, anchor and investigative reporter at Action News Jax. Good morning, Emily.
Hello. I got a chocolate too. I can't wait to break into that.
And Jack Webb, did you get a little something today?
I got a Slim Jim. Thank you, Frank.
I didn't want to leave him out.
Jack Webb, of course, attorney and former Jacksonville City Council president. And we are joined also by Riley Phillips, investigative reporter at First Coast News. Good morning, Riley.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. So we're going to start, Frank, with a police shooting Monday night. 14th so far this year, and the 10th that was fatal. This was a bit of a chaotic scene.
A lot of them have been. And when I was at Channel 4, I kept a file of police shootings and the follow-up reports, RTR, everything else. And I'm not kidding. When I left, that file was 6 inches thick.
Wow.
It's still there. The one the other night at Mayport was, again, and the commonality this year has been disturbed individuals armed. Of the 14 so far this year, 6 have involved armed people having mental health episodes. And a lot of those are when the police are called by the family who just can't do it anymore. Now, they don't think that they don't want to see their loved one get shot, but it gets to a point where they don't listen to reason. A lot of times they're pronouncing, or challenging the police officers to kill them. And that was going on the last one out in Mayport. The guy's at a boat ramp. He's got a rifle. He's shooting into the water. There's a couple there going, so they call the police, and the guy walks over, tries to engage him and calm him down. You want a sport drink? Sure. Then he points the gun at him. He backs off, gets in the car. He crashes their car, goes up on a Mayport road, crashes into a pole, and he's surrounded by 9 officers. And then they know he's armed. They see him reach.
He's armed.
They've been told he's armed.
Right.
Okay. At that point, it doesn't matter if he's armed or not. He could have thrown the gun out. In the police officers' minds, he's armed. He's demonstrated the use of a firearm.
Okay.
Well, and he also told the couple at
he
the
wanted
boat
to
ramp
die.
that he wanted to die and the police are going to have to shoot him.
Right.
Yes.
So he made a move inside, and then 9 officers fired. That's called contagious shooting. We saw that in Bay Meadows in 2010. And the criminal investigation will be quick on this one. It'll be justified. It's a no-brainer. But the response to resistance board, that's the internal thing, they only get into that after the state attorney's office is done. And I'm going to guess that they're going to find some problems with backdrop. Backdrop is what a police officer is supposed to have. Good backdrop. You're going to count for every bullet that comes out of that weapon. It was by the grace of God that an officer wasn't hit by a stray slug or a ricochet that night.
9 officers firing, Emily, that it does seem like it could pose some real hazards to them. I mean, we should point out, though, the weapon that this man had was apparently thrown into the lake at this boat ramp, into the water. So Frank notes they've been, it was reported that he was armed. He evidently didn't have a weapon on him at the time, but they have no way of knowing that.
No, and the report obviously is that he had a rifle. He said he wanted to die. Police are going to have to kill him. He'd already gotten in a tussle, pointed a gun at this couple. In fact, he'd fired at the husband, and it hit the dock around the man. I mean, they're really lucky that nothing happened to the people who were there. And he goes at the time when they finally decided they were going to fire is when he went to open the rifle case, and they don't know what's in there, if there's a gun, if there's anything else in there. and that's when officers open fire.
Yeah. Jack, unusual to have that many officers open fire.
Well, I think Frank's got a great point. I think there might be some sort of internal investigation that might result in minor reprimands and additional training. Yeah, that's as Frank pointed out. It's very dangerous. This is a situation where, aside from that fall down, really, this is a suicide by cop type situation, right? I mean, the guy was. This was not a situation where, this was a pretextual traffic stop that resulted in somebody getting slugged or something like that. This was a bad situation. So, yeah.
They were able to talk to him for a pretty extended period, though, Riley. I mean, the police officers were communicating with him for, about an hour or more before this shooting happened. We know that JSO has worked in recent years to de-escalate. If they've had some teams that go out during certain hours with their officers if it's a mental health related call, but they also don't like to put those people in harm's way. And so there's been a little bit of a tension there between when the social workers, so to speak, the mental health people go out with officers and when they don't.
Yeah, but I believe with the last officer involved shooting, there was a mental health professional, or whatever they call them on
Co-responder.
Yes, co-responder on scene. But for this one, I don't believe there was anyone on scene.
I remember when John Rutherford was sheriff, we going through budget issues, and he said, Jack, a lot of my budget, we are in Duval County, we are the largest provider of mental health care in the county. And I wonder, again, to the extent that you pointed out that there's a commonality in these situations, I wonder why there aren't more resources being I guess turned to dedicated to these types of situations, because to your point, were they there for an hour and a half to diffuse the situation? Were there in fact mental health counselors there at the time? I don't know.
Yeah, Frank. I mean, the program has had some success, but it is always difficult when there's people aiming guns at each other or aiming guns at strangers, as this man was doing at one point at the boat ramp.
There should have been time for a co-responder to be brought out there. I don't know that there was. The one that Riley mentioned, that was the 13th of the year. This was a guy who had a knife, not a gun, but he had broken into a neighbor's house, set it on fire, then confronted the officer with a knife. They shot him. When I've talked to a number of police officers who have been involved in shootings, it's not as if they go out there, they want to do it. It haunts them no matter the justification. I was talking to one the other day. He has had two during his career. And he says, Frank, it never goes away. That's a direct quote. But when you get to a point where you're confronting a person and they may or may not know he's having a mental health issue, but when he's armed, rule number one is you go home to the wife and the kids.
Well, in addition to that, because I've ridden along with the co-responders and did a story on it maybe a year and a half ago. And to your point, not just go home to the wife and kids, but your job is to protect the public, even if and from people like that in a situation like that. And that includes the co-responder. And so when I rode along, the officer went out first. If the officer deemed it was safe for the co-responder and for me, then we came forward, because the co-responder is not, wearing a bulletproof vest or trained in in the ways that police officers are. I mean, they have specific training to situations like this, which is why they're there, but it's not the same thing. They're not a law enforcement officer. And so whether a co-responder was there or not, at some point you get to an impasse, and it's when that person reaches for what you think is a gun.
And in the case where you were there, was that mental health responder able to be helpful in diffusing the situation?
It was actually a really cool situation. Yeah, it was a woman who had she was having a mental health episode downtown, and it was safe. I was able to listen in, and they had a whole conversation with her, and they do a great job working with Homeward Bound, which is a program where they find folks, they will pay a bus ticket and send them to meet up with family. And this woman was able to get in touch with her brother. We had a phone conversation with him. She got a bus ticket. And then instead of sitting on the street curb having a mental episode, she was ultimately able to go home to her family.
Jack, your thoughts?
Again, a tragic situation, but to your point, Emily's point, at some point one will trump the other. That is, you try and diffuse the situation. If it do not shoot at people, and then appear to be reaching for a weapon. I mean, that's not going to end well.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Frank Powers, Emily Turner, Riley Phillips, and Jack Webb about all the week's headlines, and you are welcome to join our conversation. Give us a call at 904-549-2937 or email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. We've got a call from Mike on the South Side. Good morning, Mike. Go ahead.
Hey there. Unless things have changed, I understand that the mental health co-responder program only operates during the day, so not at nighttime, and also not on the weekends, and also not in every zone. So the sheriff has touted this program, but I don't think it's really fully implemented, so more work needs to be done in that area.
That's a good comment, Mike. And yeah, that comports with sort of the reporting that I've seen previously on that. We've also got a call from Tom on the West Side. Good morning, Tom. Go ahead.
Good morning. And in a situation like this, where you have 9 police officers, or the previous fatal mental health intervention when they had 6, shouldn't you have just 1 or 2 officers designated as the shooter, and then the rest of them would hold their fire just for safety?
I mean, that would be a great situation if you knew what was coming down the pipe. But unfortunately, in crime scenes, in situations like this, you have no idea what's going to happen. What if the 2 designated shooters are on the other side of the car and it gets out the wrong door, and then you're out of luck, and the other officers just have to sit there? I mean, in an ideal world, that would be wonderful if we could write the future. But
Those scenes are dynamic. I
Yeah.
mean, for sure. We got a call from Sally in Springfield. Good morning, Sally. Go ahead.
Good morning. I mean, this idea of mine sounds wacky, but can't there be some kind of a tranquilizer gun that is in their toolkit? It seems to me that a lot of people that have mental health crises are not able to survive and get shot and killed. And I know that they have tasers, but they're so close. They do it for animals that need to be tranquilized out in the wild. I think that, and we're a smart society, I would love to see something like that invented or proposed or used to give that person who's putting others in danger and themselves a chance to recover.
Interesting.
The problem with darts, so to speak, or tasers is it does not immediately end the threat. Ask Jared Reston about how well a taser worked. One of the ones this year, Jared Reston is retired JSO who had to shoot and kill a guy after his taser malfunctioned. One of the ones this year was a man having a mental health episode. He was tasered once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. He's yanking the prods out and assaulting police officers. Then they shoot him. There was one.
And that was the gentleman who had a woman
Yes, he was,
captive at the time.
and was ripping chunks of her hair out while she was clutching a child. There was one in 2018 on the north side where a big guy, bigger than me, he's got a machete. He's just trashed his mother's home. He called 911, said, "I'll kill any police officer who shows up." Lieutenant arrives, gets out of the car. Within 10 seconds, he has a 6'4", 300-pound man charging at him with a machete raised over his head. Okay. We had a very animated conversation in the Channel 4 newsroom about that when people were saying the same thing. Well, they should have tasered him. All right, think about that. You put yourself in that officer's situation.
Or
Here he
just shoot
comes.
his hand. Like,
Yeah. You got 10 seconds to decide. Shoot or taser. 9, 8. Time to decide. 7, 6, 5. Oh, you haven't decided, but you've made a decision.
But he's carrying a machete at the time.
Even if you shoot him now, that machete is coming down on you. That's why you can't rely on that.
Well, I think that's why none of us are police officers, right? I would not want to be put in the position where at the drop of a hat, you would have to make a life or death call for yourself or for someone else. And, that's why they do the I mean, it's an unsavory position to be in, and it's a tough call either way.
Riley, I mean, in terms of this specific incident, we know that it is going to go through the process. I mean, right now, whether there was anything criminal that happened, state attorney's office is going to look at, and then it'll be up to JSO to sort of look at whether any policy was violated.
And it's going to take a while. These things normally take, months to investigate and see if anything was done wrong.
And we should say we did reach out to the sheriff yesterday just to let him know we were going to be doing this segment to see if he had any updated statement. And, they just said that in terms of the number of shootings that have been that they've seen this year, or the number of them that have involved, apparent mental health cases, they didn't have any specific comment on that. They just said that they'll have the most updated information on the critical incident on their transparency side.
Just people making bad decisions.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, if you are just joining us, we are talking about the week's big headlines. I want to move on now to the topic of tax cuts, budget cuts, and town hall meetings.
And we'll be here for the rest of the show. Plenty to talk
Touche,
about.
Emily Turner. So we should say that the city council seems more than poised right now, Jack, to roll back property taxes. It seems that there is a majority wanting to do that. That is going to come with budget cuts. And there are also some contingencies attached now to this budget, courtesy of Councilmember Rory Diamond, basically imposing spending on what he labels DEI, undocumented residents. So give us a little sense of what politically is happening here. There was a big press conference on City Hall steps once again about this matter.
Yeah, the image wasn't really all that great either. I mean, you got a bunch of white guys standing in front of City Hall saying we're going to cut the millage rate by 1/8, okay? And yet at the same time, we're trying to eliminate other kind of, really creative and smart initiatives that will actually save us money with regards to healthcare and things of that nature. Recommendations that were implemented by the council after Councilman Michael Boylan, shout out to him, did all this work. So they saved that. But the point is, it's all performative. It's all performative. If I were the mayor, and I'm not the mayor, but if I were the mayor, give them their 1/8, right? Take it. Take it, boys and girls. Have it, all right? But now, you want to cut the budget? This is where we're going to cut the budget. You restore this, take this, let's figure this thing out. But, and then take it to the people. Listen, they wanted their 1/8, and again, they realized that the insignificance of this cut, okay? But this is to appease the political overlords in Tallahassee. So rock and roll, check that box. What really bothers me about this, and I'll shut up, but it's the abdication of local elected officials to do their jobs that they're elected to do. And again, I use the word performative. Really? A big, beautiful budget amendment? Come on, really? Doge or Dodge, whatever it is? Come on, guys.
At least come up with your own name.
Yeah. I mean, you're mimicking, you're aping your big brothers in Tallahassee and D.C. Quite honestly, if I'm your mother, I'm embarrassed for you, okay? Come on, just do your jobs, grow up, and let's move on down the road.
Riley, you've been covering this issue and it's, the evolving nature of it. Mayor Deegan told you that this tax cut that's been promised will amount to little in terms of the actual amount. I think she's estimating about $1, but that really would only benefit homeowners. And that is not everybody.
Yes. I believe the mayor said 51% of residents here in Jacksonville are renters. So the 49% of homeowners will save, $1.56 a year. Yeah, if that. So it's really not a lot. And I think that's that's where her frustration comes, is that's not a lot of savings. So why even do this right now when it could have implications, in a few years down the road?
Politically, Emily, though, I mean, I would say that you'd be hard pressed, and I've talked to some city council members about this. If you're a Republican and you don't vote for a tax cut, you basically aren't going to be running again.
No.
It happened to me.
So case in point, sitting to my starboard, yeah. No, I mean, you're right. You're totally right, and it's interesting because it feels like this council, you better fall in line, that there isn't a lot of dissent, that it's like the goal is just oppose Donna, and we're going to do whatever, we're going to be aligned on that, and not where it's us versus the issue. It's us versus the executive branch.
Frank, I want to ask you, because this week, or I guess last week now at this point, the former mayor weighed in. Lenny Curry wrote a letter to the editor of the Florida Times-Union saying, applauding the council, saying, let's do this tax cut. I thought it was interesting in a couple of ways. I mean, one, people might remember that Lenny Curry himself raised taxes in 2021. They doubled the gas tax. Most of that money Emily, I'll let you take that in a second.
JTA.
I see steam coming out of
Not
her.
my favorite topic.
Yeah, I mean, about half of that, tax increase going essentially to Skyway expansion. But the other thing that stuck out to me is, back when Mayor Jake Godbold was speaking out against things in City Hall, the mayor tweeted a fairly strong tweet. I think it's probably been since deleted, but he basically said, when your time is up, it's up. I'll abide by that when my time's up. It's good form, and nobody cares when you're gone. And yet he is a former mayor, and he's
trying
himself.
to stay relevant.
He's on my show this week in the 904. He'll be on Sunday.
Nice plug.
Thank you.
Lenny
Tune in
Curry
Sunday morning on Action News Jax.
has always had his eye on Congress. The rumor happens every 2 years: is John Rutherford going to seek re-election or not? And everybody expects that if Rutherford does not, that Lenny Curry will get in. As Jack mentioned, what's going on here, I think Mark Woods had a phrase in his column this week. This is the pre-primary season.
Silly season.
It's going to be a bloodbath among at least 3, maybe 4 Republican city council members who want to be mayor.
Who's that?
That's going to be
Howland.
Carrico, Howland,
Ron
Salem, and maybe Diamond.
Okay.
So they're all going to try to out-MAGA each other. They're trying to ding Deegan any way they can. I mean, the primary wrestling that'll going on between them, you could sell tickets to. Oh, wait a minute, tickets? Never mind. Okay, that's a bad metaphor.
We can get there later.
But boom, there was a rim shot there, but that's what's going on.
Okay. Emily, I mean, I am just going to let you have your say about
JTA.
just because you have been following more closely than any reporter, JTA and the movement to this autonomous vehicle, which is
Ironically, I was stuck behind one broken down
You
today.
said 2.
There were 2 with their flashers on, but one of them was on the curb, so I didn't get stuck.
This is the kind of inheritor of the Skyway system eventually.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, where do you want to start on this one?
Well, just that it is costing a fair amount of money, and that is money that was generated by this doubling of the gas tax.
Yeah, so there's 2 different parts to this project. The NAVI, as they're calling it, that's technically funded by a combination of local, state, and federal dollars. The state has paid us 0. The feds, I haven't gotten their latest quarterly report. It's only a couple million. The whole project is $66.6 million. $50 million. The JTA board said, yeah, we'll cover it. That's all local money. But phase 2, which is the revamping of the Skyway into the U2C, that is paid for by the local option gas tax. So every time you fill up, a huge chunk of that money is going to go to continuing the NAVI up on this. I mean, it's a whole thing, which, by the way, they greenlit without a plan. There is no PD&E. They had to put that sucker back out for bid. There's no scope. There's no plan. There's no price tag on it. Nat Ford said that in front of council. And we're just like, sure, cool, take our money. It's fine. And they were, and then now the Emerald Trail, which was also funded by the LOGT, the local option gas tax, that's now defunded because guess what? How many press conferences did they have touting the Emerald Trail? And you know what I found? I got the grant agreement. It was never signed. It was never signed.
Who is responsible for executing the grant agreement?
On which side?
Our side. It was never signed by whom?
Well, there's a lot of finger pointing happening right now.
I
about
can imagine
that.
there would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is that, as Frank would be well aware of this, is that really the JTA has kind of, through the Better Jacksonville plan and the assignment or dedication of local option gas tax for BJP plans or projects over the years, it's really become a de facto arm. Although it's got its own statutory creation under state law, it's really become an arm of the municipal politics of our local county, state, or city government, without, to your point, the oversight that the council should bring to bear on these matters.
Well, there has been a total abdication.
I was about to say,
Oh,
you take
man.
it, Emily. This is in your
There has
wheelhouse.
been a total abdication of local governance when it comes to these. I mean, everyone's
I
laughing
teed it
at
right
me
up for
because
you.
I know, here I am. I'm going to start getting red here in a minute and sweating. But it's like there has been a total abdication of local governance of these independent authorities. Look at the Jacksonville Housing Authority. Look at the JEA deal, JTA. I mean, if there's an A at the end of that acronym, they've just been left to go play around. I mean, Ron Salem told me, look, I believe in democracy, that we pick these people to put on the board and it's the board's job. Okay, well, that clearly isn't happening appropriately in so many instances, more instances than not. And yet no one locally will take accountability for it. When I did the story on
Maybe
the
that's the A that's missing, the accountability.
and
wow.
Schindler.
Wow.
Right there.
What a show. Now I know why you're at the head of the table now. It's true, though.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and for people who haven't followed Emily's reporting, it is quite something. So
Award-winning
thank you.
reporting.
Well, get
Yeah,
ready. There's
that's right.
more. There'll be one story coming out next week about the Navy, and then I got a real bomb
all right.
following that.
Definitely excited to talk to you more about that. I do want to shift gears and talk a little bit about the crosswalks debate, because that is something that has been happening statewide. It's been getting national attention. Until this week, we didn't really know what was going to be happening here. We had suspected that our crosswalks were probably imperiled, whether they're painted.
Except the pause.
Yeah, except
Well,
the pause.
we haven't heard about the pause,
Yeah.
the Jaguar pause on Bay Street. Those are still, I think, an unanswered question. But we do know now that some 6 crosswalks, including rainbow crosswalks and just kind of artistic, decorative crosswalks.
Yeah, I think the art in front of MD Anderson is on the chopping block too, right?
Yeah, there's 6 sites that they have listed now. But we should say this is happening obviously statewide, and it isn't just rainbow crosswalks. There's a sense that that's what's been targeted, but there is also a Back the Blue
In Tampa?
mural in Tampa that's been removed. Bike lanes painted by Orlando elementary school kids removed, and a racing crosswalk outside Daytona Speedway. So, I mean, it is an equal opportunity removal.
Well, supposedly, but the initiative came from Sean Duffy, who is DC, who's a transportation guy, right?
Former reality TV star.
And he posted on X. He said on X that the point of this is to eliminate the LGBT crosswalks or whatever. That's not our job as government. Now, and all right, so gave it to all the governors, all 50 states, and DeSantis is the one through the Florida Department of Transportation has really taken the initiative on this thing. And we're going to do this, we're going to do that. What I find interesting about it is that, again, he's threatening funding, but these, in many respects, are local thoroughfares. They're local roads. I understand that the Department of Transportation has authority, jurisdiction to administer appropriate traffic calming devices and things of that nature, but the underlying rationale for any of this is ridiculous because it's not about safety. It's about content, all right? But in an effort to look non-discriminatory, you're taking out this. You're not taking out the pause, but you are taking out Back the Blue and some other things. But what's really what's sad about it is, all right,
There are better things to do.
yeah, you're going to burn one book, you got to burn all the books, right?
Well, it's
You're
interesting.
going to ban this communication. You got to ban all communication. We become a state of Puritans. I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, the Department of Transportation, Riley, has become increasingly just kind of a political, not a political agency, but an agency certainly subject to politics. And we saw that with the bridge lighting removal, which they oversaw, which got rid of rainbow lightings during Pride Month. And so, we do know that there is a content issue. I mean, as Jack said, the Secretary of Transportation posted on X, taxpayers expect their dollars to fund safe streets, not rainbow crosswalks. Political banners have no place on public roads. There's also been a marginal argument about, whether automated vehicles might be distracted by these.
A Tesla driver in our newsroom said his Tesla stops at those crosswalks. So
Is
Just
that right?
To
Yes.
admire the art.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, though? I guess it's better to stop at a crosswalk than blow right through it.
It's working, isn't it?
The research is actually pretty clear. There was a Bloomberg study that was done that shows that painted crosswalks, people actually slow down when they approach them.
Yeah.
Which I would think, be safer than
I think they
the
found
opposite.
a 50% drop in accidents involving pedestrians too. And so,
and overall, I think too.
yeah. So, I guess we'll see. Frank, the city has just called this a perplexing reversal, but basically said, look, it's money at stake. The state has said
All
they're
of
going to.
$21,000 to clean it all up, if that's the right word. And the governor, piled on saying we're banning political statements. I'm sorry, what's political about geometric paintings outside a children's hospital?
Yeah. What's next? All right. So LGBT, you can't put it on the street. So what are you going to do? You can put it on a building. Okay. All right. So what's the next move? All right. Is the state going to impose zoning regulations that prohibit that type of mural painting on walls of, privately owned buildings? Is that where it goes from here? If it does, call me, please. I'll toddle down to federal court. We'll have a conversation
It's
about
just
that.
silly. It's like this is your priority when there are literally local transportation agencies who are spending $350,000 on bespoke murals behind key card access and then coding them to the board as parts and service.
Got a call from Linda in Mandarin. Good morning, Linda. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the operative thing that runs through everything this morning is performative. It's sad that the Republicans, and I'll just say it like that, the Republicans have shown their hands that I thought they were about family values and small government, don't tread on me. And what we found out is they just needed the right leadership to be able to tell everybody what to do, what books to read, what crosswalk colors, what lights on our bridges. And yes, there will be censoring coming of art on murals on walls, as they tried to do several years ago in Mocha when he wanted a picture taken down of a woman that was breastfeeding. This is about control leading into fascism. And it's really, I know that's thrown around a lot, but let's just understand, most people are on TikTok and looking at other things. They're not paying attention to what rights are being eroded. And why are we even paying any city council people or legislators a salary if they just have to conform to the Republican head of state and do what Sean Duffy, give me a break. Really?
Linda, thank you for your call. We've also got a call from Mandy in Springfield. Good morning, Mandy. Go ahead.
Good morning, Ann. It's so good to be on this morning. I wanted to make a comment about specifically the ones in Springfield. I know that they were installed because of the multifaceted way to promote traffic calming in the neighborhood. So they weren't just put out there just, as a mural. I know many others might have been, but they were done for slowing drivers down, like the bulb outs that were initially put in, then they extended the crosswalks into them. And there are studies. There's a Bloomberg study from 2022. I'm not sure if I missed you guys talking about that basically said that crosswalks like these reduce fatalities by 50%. And so that alone, to me, like, they're not considering the safety part of it, and it's really just more of the same performative thing that we're seeing over and over again.
Yeah.
Additionally, those quite a few of them employed local artist Dave Nakashi. So they were used or were paid for, I know in Springfield, by those Porch Fest Art Initiative funds, and they weren't even taxpayer funded.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts. I appreciate you calling. I do want to shift to talk about Alligator Alcatraz, because that's something we've talked about during the buildup. It's only been 8 weeks, and now it is, I guess, on the verge of empty. So let's talk about what's happening there. This facility opened July 1. It's capable of holding up to about 3,000 detainees pending immigration deportation. Excuse me. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Deportation. Sounded a lot like another word. Pending deportation. So this, though, has been put to a halt by a judge for environmental reasons, but a lot of money already, I guess, sunk costs there.
$245 million. Some reports say up to $400 million. Whoosh, gone.
Yeah.
And the judge's ruling was pointed in a number of areas that this violated, mainly environmental, and she pointed out for decades, federal and state officials in Florida, Republicans, have endorsed the idea of preserving and restoring the Everglades. Alligator Alcatraz violated all of that. And what's been remarkable to me is how they push back against any rulings they decry as coming from an activist judge. That hasn't happened here much. They quietly emptied the place out. And apparently they're now all going not to Camp Landing, but to the closed prison in Baker County.
So what do we know about that, Jack? I mean, obviously that's a facility that was supposed to be coming online. This is the prison that already exists, but had been shuttered. And so I guess it's in a better position to kind of get up and running. Do we know if those people are coming here? Have we seen or heard?
We don't. All I know is this. Well, the judge's order granting the injunction requiring that they shut it down was issued on August 21st. I think the 27th, the judge denied a motion to halt the injunction or halt the closure, say no reason for it. Now, which is really interesting because that, again, in in order to grant that kind of relief, that's very extraordinary in federal court. All right, and a lot of people, the governor will say, she's an activist judge. She's not. She was appointed by Obama. She's a former assistant U.S. attorney. She was confirmed unanimously by a Republican Senate. So this is not an activist judge. But that said, as of that date, the 27th, 28th, the renovation process and the security issues out at the facility in Baker County went through the ceiling. There's a lot of activity going on out there. No one's saying anything about it. But again, security protocols, it just appears as if they are gearing up to move the people in there.
Well,
so the question is, where are the yellow school buses parked at this point? Where are these? If they're being removed from the Everglades, where before, their cots are made, whatever, the air conditioning's turned on, I'm being facetious, in the new facility or the renovated facility, where are they being housed temporarily? I don't know.
In the meantime,
Yeah.
right?
Well, our reporting was that it would be shut down within days. So at this point, who knows? They could potentially be in transit as we speak. One of the other things that I found out is, Baker County is not some massive epicenter where they're prepared necessarily to have all this crazy coverage. And so they've had to now ramp up and do that. They have a mobile substation out there already so that they can staff that with law enforcement because there are already protesters out there.
We know, Riley, that, one of the lawsuits was environmental. Some of them have had to do with the legal rights of people who are detained there. But environmentally, it wasn't great. I mean, it was run on generators. And so we're talking portable air conditioners, portable toilets. They had to truck in bathing water and drinking water and then truck out sewage multiple times a day. But, this is not a pristine necessarily portion of it. There was an airstrip there, but a lot of people objecting to the pace of this project and how quickly it was put up. I guess now we're going to see perhaps how quickly it can be dismantled.
Taken down. We'll see what they even do with the site. I'm interested to see if they even clear everything out. I could see, things being left there.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. We've got a call from Russell on the west side. Good morning, Russell. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, I just passed by Baker. I'm originally from Lake City, so I pass by that prison all the time. There's probably 500-600 contractors out there doing work. You can see them redoing the roof. You can see, I'm pretty sure the National Guardsmen at the gates and stuff now, which
Oh, wow.
I'm assuming that they're getting ready to move prisoners out there because I understand that if they fly them out, they're going to be flying them out through the airport in Lake City also.
My understanding as well is that there's tents being built out there. Is that correct?
I didn't see any tents, but I do see the buildings being repaired or, work. If there's tents, they're probably in the back, which you can't see from US 90.
Russell, thanks for being our eyes on the ground there, and thanks for calling in.
As I'm texting my assignment desk, we need to get a photographer out there.
Yeah, no kidding. So we don't know, though, what it would cost to retrofit that facility. It has been difficult to kind of get numbers on some of this stuff, but we have seen, Frank, and I think you said this, it's been about $245 million so far, and there are some costs that the government itself has argued they will be unable to recoup. They said that shutting down the facility will cost between 15 and 20 million. Reopening the facility, if they have to do it, will cost 15 to 20 million. And so, those are immutable costs that we know there hasn't been any federal government reimbursement for at this point.
And there could be more costs. Think of all those contracts that now are probably being canceled. Mm-hmm. I can envision some contracting company that had a nice multi-million-dollar contract. It's canceled, filing lawsuit to recover those costs because they would have made investments to do that work. So the cost of Alligator Alcatraz, when it's all said and done, it's going to be approaching $500 million probably.
Well, here's a question for the attorney in the room. Does something like a federal judge's ruling fall under a force majeure or no?
I would think not.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So in a contract, well, you're the attorney.
In a contract, there's always going to be provision in there. Said act of God, hurricane, nuclear war, can't perform. I doubt that the contract would include injunctive relief by a federal judge because you're in violation of multiple statutes and regulations. The answer, I don't know. Maybe. It depends. Typical lawyer answer. But I would think not.
Well, they have made some interesting legal arguments, though, and one of them, which I thought was surprising, was the idea that federal law doesn't apply to the state, and it doesn't apply because this is not federal lands, which I thought was, I've not seen that argument. Maybe that's less creative than
It's sovereign land belonging to the Miccosukee tribe.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously they're one of the litigants involved.
And their arguments was one of the main things that the judge pinned her ruling on.
All right, we've got a call, I think, from our former mayor. Good morning, Lenny Curry. Welcome. We've got a short time span here, but please go ahead.
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking the call. I'll be quick. Heard the comments and a couple things about former mayors weighing in. Look, if there's a policy issue that I feel serious about, I'm going to weigh in, and this is one of them. And, you know, Jack made the point. If you don't listen to your constituents and feel their pain and understand what they're going through, the voters will throw you out of office, which is exactly what happened to him.
Well, I will say this.
Government doesn't have many levers. Government doesn't have many levers. They can't control your grocery costs unless you're a socialist. They can't control your insurance costs. They can control your property taxes. And people are looking for relief. Politicians that don't see what's coming right now on economic pain are going to suffer at the polls and be thrown out of office.
Can I respond to that?
I would just leave it with this. It's Labor Day. Don't drink and drive. Everybody have a great weekend.
Thanks, Mayor Curry. Appreciate it. Jack, go ahead.
If you're going to drink and drive, never drink and drive. Don't even putt, Dean Martin. But that said, you know what? I get it. But sometimes you got to make a decision as an elected official that it's the right thing to do, irrespective, regardless of the political consequences.
Yeah. All right. I do just want to touch on our last topic, which is a very filthy lake, actually the filthiest in the nation, Lake Okeechobee. Well, yeah. So
10 out of 10.
It's no Lake Superior.
No.
What's going on there? I mean, this is a lake that has been plagued by algae blooms. It has long been known to be very polluted, and it's surrounded by agriculture. That's one of the
2 words: big
culprits.
sugar.
Big sugar.
The things that are in that lake, it's phosphates, it's nitrates, it's sulfates, it's all run up from fertilizer. The algae, Jack will remember this as a Mandarin resident, back in 2009, the big green monster, the algae filled St. John's River. Look at the aerial shots of Lake Okeechobee now. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, and so big sugar is one of the big agricultural inputs, but we know that stormwater runoff is a problem as well. Urban sprawl is
There's a lot of lead in the water, from what I read.
Yeah, and that is, I'm wondering if that's linked to the pesticide use or kind of where that originates.
I'm not certain, because we all have unleaded gas, so that shouldn't be the issue. I'm not really certain where it's coming from.
Yeah, but it is obviously a problem and not a great look for the state. We haven't heard any official response, as far as I know, Riley Phillips, to this report that just came out. But this is a long-term study that they did.
Yes, and lots of lakes across the country too.
Yeah,
So,
and I guess Lake George in Florida also wasn't.
That was also in the top 10.
yep.
Yeah.
And there were 2 from Oklahoma. Of the top 10, 9 of those lakes are in red states.
Well, the reason the Lake George one matters is that's the headwaters of the St. Johns River that runs right through our downtown.
Which has a lot of pollution challenges. Well, Frank Powers, Emily Turner, Jack Webb, Riley Phillips, thank you all so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Fun morning.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation.
This was an interesting one. Thanks.
All right. And we'll watch for your reporting, Emily. All right. We'll be back.